city engineer, assistant public works director, Walter Dawson, who is our stormwater director. We have Keith Beasley, who is our vice mayor, soon to be mayor. We have Tanja McCoy, who is our development services director. Pam and Martha, from our finance department. Andrew, you know, and Harrison, and Terry back in the back there, she's running too. So with that, you guys have a half an hour.
Okay.
To do your presentation, 15 minutes of questions. We have no gun to anybody's head here, but we just want to be respectful for the next couple of days. With that, I'll turn it over.
All right. Well, thank you all. I know we've got a lot of energy this morning from our neighbors, but hopefully you can hear me okay. I am Shailesh Patel with Dredging and Marine Consultants. I'm the principal. This is Dylan Patel. He's our business development director, and he'll be assisting me with this presentation and the project also. So I want to make sure that we are clear, first and foremost, that I know you've got various companies. I've read your assessment.
Hold on a second. Sorry, actually, I can hear you better from behind the mic because there's a mic.
Oh, sorry.
Stand, so I can hear you better.
Right here?
Yeah, thank you.
Is that better? Okay, hold on. Let me just make sure. Okay. So, again, like I said, I've read some of your comments, and 9 out of 10 times as a small company, first of all, we've been in business for 21 years. I've been doing this for 30 years when it comes to marine, coastal, dredging type projects. So, all of them in the state of Florida. So we fully understand the environment in Florida. So that's number one, right? We have Florida roots as a company, but we have a global mindset. And the reason I say that is because we've done projects and we've looked at projects more so in collaboration nationally, as well as we've gone to other countries and we've looked at marinas and what happens after the tsunami, what happened in countries in Asia, right? So things like that are important to us, but in Florida, we have hurricanes every year. And so that's something that I want to kind of bring out, because as a small company, I always feel like we're looking at David versus Goliath kind of thing, where everybody's comparing us to the national and global companies, and obviously they bring 30, 40 engineers, projects worldwide, but it's not about that when it comes to your city. It is your vision, and what is it that you want to build, and what can you build financially, right? It's nice to want to have a Taj Mahal, but the question is, can you afford it? How soon do you want to build it? So I'll get into all those things. So I've got a quick presentation format. I'm going to talk about some of the existing amenities that you have, just quickly, conceptual marina options that we are providing based on some of the comments I read, between 50 and 150 boat slips, dockage options. We'll talk about additional features, and then we'll talk about other amenities, probable costs, and then I want to have a discussion, because that's more important to me. I noticed that you had a vision, and I want to know what that vision is, so I can address your questions, right? And then we can move to the questions and answer session. So obviously, you all pretty much know what the country club offers, from golf to aquatic center, tennis courts, kayak rental. I had a chance, I've been here like almost 3 times now, met Ian, who runs the kayak outfit here, and kind of talked to him about what he saw, what he thinks, what are some of the concerns he might have. And then we looked at the pavilion and restroom, and the reason why is, if you're going to build a marina, you're going to need somewhere to place someone who's going to be in charge of the marina. And we have done retrofits on buildings that you could actually literally take your pavilion, add a second story, add an extension. You could have a place where the kayak launch could be shifted so that you can have a marina facility, but when you have a second story potentially opportunity, that person can literally see all around, and that is important in terms of safety and risk management, right? So we've thought about all those things. Obviously, you have the children's playground. Bottom line is, so this facility is for all ages. We get that. But your job is right now to look at what is the feasibility of having a marina. And a marina takes a lot of things. Do you want to be a clean marina, right? There's a clean marina program in the state of Florida. So sewage treatment. Do you want to have a fueling facility, right? Now you've got to deal with fuel. You've got to deal with hurricanes. Just wanted to share one thing. City of Tavares, for those of you who don't know, in Central Florida, near Eustis, Mount Dora, we built the first seaplane marina, right? So here we've got national global companies that do that, but we built it for them, and we've gone through a few years ago with a hurricane that came right down the middle of the state, and it annihilated their marina. Nobody thought it would come change course. They had boats, literally ripped the marina apart, right? So I'll talk about some of the precautions you need to take when you think about a marina. So some of the amenities, we're sitting in one of them. You've got the aquatic center. The picture at the bottom right is the area in front of the tennis courts between that and the water. It's an open parcel. Now, I'll bring a photo when we do the conceptual to kind of show you, because you might have had that used as a disposal facility at one point. And so talk about what you might want to do versus maybe leaving that place alone. We've looked at the pavilion. We've looked at the kayak launch. Obviously, you built some, I think, almost like 5 slip type fixed dock kayak launch facility. And understanding that we're in the state of Florida, we go through tides, and that is very important. One of the things we do for all our municipalities when we redesign boat ramps, docks, marinas is look at ADA compliance. It's very important. We're working for the National Park Service right now. They have even more stringent rules, requirements on what they want to see in terms of handling ADA compliance. They get into the visually impaired, they get into sound, they get into all kinds of things. But what applies to a marina is important for you to understand. So we're going to give you this now. I want to mention this because when I present this, sometimes you you have an opinion. And again, it's a feasibility study, so anything is possible. I look at it as you've got a blank canvas. I'm going to throw all options at it, see what sticks, what excites you, what do you want to build, and we can do that at the feasibility stage. So here's an example, right? So we came here, we looked at it, we looked at the bathymetric survey that Geosyntec had completed. I know that you had in the past done a project where you want to actually, and might be doing it, is put a 2 or 3 foot lift of sand material to cover the muck as opposed to dredging it. We understand dredging. We've done mechanical, hydraulic. We just finished a $3 million muck restoration project for Taylor Creek, St. Lucie County. And we've been doing for St. Lucie County for over 20 years now. So we understand all those things, all right? But I wanted to bring this to your attention because the way we kind of designed it, we thought, all right, let's look outside the box. Everybody probably thinks of, if I may, just this little area and sliver. But I thought, you know, I saw boats zipping by going to the homes towards the east side, and I said, well, maybe look at some of the vessels that have to come around this sort of island and where they might want to dock. And we look at things like fetch meaning open water, because when the hurricane comes and the wind starts blowing on the water, it starts causing those additional waves. So surge is simply, hey, your water level at the ocean increased for hurricane category 1, 5 to 6 feet. Hurricane category 2, your ocean level rose about 8 feet. On top of that, wind is blowing, creating waves. Now you get 15 feet of wave, 8 feet of wave. All those things have an impact on a parcel, on a marina. So the first thing I want to tell you is, when you design a marina, if you haven't had one, my guidance to you is start small. Build it and they will come. If they come, you know you have the ability to expand. So on the top right, we can go up to, right now on this design, we've got about 58 boat slips, 57 boat slips. You can also increase that or reduce that, expand to the south if you want to. But on the section that is here, this area here, right, we've got 20 boat slips, 28 rather. And I think that's a reasonable size. I would in fact encourage you to do something like 20 boat slips. Try with 20, because you always have the ability, if you want it at some point, to expand more. Now, we have only gone, each slip here can carry 2 boats, right, where you see the mark. We could go a little further, but we also noticed, walking at the site, you have a rescue facility dockage right here. You've got fire and police boats there, and if they have to zip through quickly, we want to make sure that the thoroughfare that is here is easily accessible by them, and we're not taking away, because it's a matter of minutes, seconds, if you will, right? But we can definitely, as part of the feasibility, talk to them. We just built a $400,000 facility for St. Johns County, right? They have a $300,000 vessel with a fire extinguishing and so forth, that they can actually get onto the ICW and police boat lifts and so forth. So we built that for them. So we understand exactly the need for safety in a marina and the access for these folks to get out into the waterway to patrol if there's an emergency. So having said that, this is sort of the potential you can increase it. You can get to 150. But if you don't have the money, don't build 150, because should a hurricane come through and devastate your docks, you're going to have a lot more to deal with than just dealing with a few docks, right? It's pretty obvious. And again, we're in Florida. I understand that. I've gone through 9 hurricanes. Right now in Volusia County, we have 5.6 mile of shoreline with less than a hurricane category 1. And literally every seawall has toppled over that hadn't toppled over in the last 60 years, right? We're learning new things. 7 feet of scour, sand lost. So you can imagine all those things, right? And so I want you to think about it. When you think about a marina, great idea, but start small. One of the things we wanted to talk about, talking to Ian, was the dockage facility. So essentially, he's got 5 fixed dock systems. But he says we use an open area to help people that are elderly or handicapped, so we can get them in the boat. He's got a little cutout in the waterway that I showed you, and people use that. But we've also done floating systems. So one of the things we're suggesting is like, hey, if we can potentially build a floating kayak launch so that people can come literally into the kayak, get out of it through the ADA compliance, and I'll show some photos, but that'll be so much easier. We can also double up, let me see if I can get this, double up on this marina dockage on this side, where boats with kayaks actually, or canoes can actually launch and get in. So think about multi-use of your dockage rather than just using it as a marina, okay? Because obviously you are currently using that facility for kayaks and so forth. I want to talk about some of the amenities that go into a marina. So now we're talking about big time. This is at Halifax Marina in Daytona. So we've done all their dredging and maintenance for them on their marina. It's the largest marina south of Baltimore, believe it or not. Over 400 boat slips, right? You're talking about huge vessels coming here, right? You've got 60-foot boats that anchor into this marina. Obviously, a marina wants to have pedestals with light, power, right? You've got to think about liveaboards. Are you going to have this marina where people are actually going to stay on the marina, right? That becomes sort of their home. They travel, they want to spend a night. Well, if they do that, what's going to bring them here, right? You've got some boats mooring, right, outside, and you say, what brings them here? Well, they have the ability to get on the shoreline, maybe take a shower somewhere, wash their clothes, have a country club where there's food, right? So there are other amenities like dry cleaning facility, bathing facilities, things you have to think about when you go full-fledged marina. But you don't have to, right? You can start off small. Just have a day dock, like people from the ICW. So City of Port Orange, I met Wayne and the other gentleman at FIND. And we were presenting for City of Port Orange. We've done their entire river walk. They've got a 13-acre river walk, playgrounds, just like you have, chamber, everything. We're putting in a 10-slip day dock. We built one, and I'm going to show you one for City of Daytona in front of a $30 million park renovation that they're doing. What that does is, hey, it brings travelers from the ICW, traveling, they want to stop, eat, park, get off the boat, go to a restaurant, get in the boat, continue, right? So there's that ability. So the first thing you have to think about is, if you're going to build the marina, what's going to bring them here, right? So think about that. But you can bring fuel, you can bring sewage pump out, right? That's a feature you can provide the boaters. That's a good thing. And again, you can get funding for all these things. So here's an example of that kayak launch ADA. We just finished the top right project. This is Lemon Bluff on the St. Johns River in Volusia County. So they wanted to we did a boat ramp, but they said, hey, we also have kayakers who use this. Can we do something with the kayak? So what we did was we expanded the accessory dock, literally here, made it wider, and on one end we put an ADA supporting facility where someone can get in a boat. It stabilizes the canoe with the outer edge, and there's a beam that goes across, so the boat actually launches onto it. And the best part is this floats up and down, so water levels don't matter. If the water's low, it's still going to have the same amount of water. And that's important, right? When you're talking about ADA, stability is one of the big. As I'm becoming a senior person and I walk facilities, I look at it, and the first thing I look at is safety, risk, and stability of these dock facilities, right? So that's important. Here's another project. So this is one we did for city of Ormond Beach along their shoreline. The other thought you could have is start off with a linear dockage, like the one you just see here in the floating system. Sorry, this long one. And the intent of this one was, as opposed to having slips, have a linear facility so that boats can come and anchor. They can go to the restaurants that are on the landward side, get back in, and get out. It's a small cost as opposed to developing a full-fledged marina, right? And you can build onto that. You can build fingers onto this in the future if you want to actually have slips along the way. And you can do a fleet mix. Fleet mix is simply what size boats do you want to bring in. Normally, we would recommend in this area go up to maybe a 30. Largest you probably might see, because you've got to look at navigation access as well. You know, can they draft 3, 4, 5 feet? That's how you design whether they're going to have access to come to this, because there's resource questions. Somebody asked, I think it was Patricia asked about, hey, legal issues, you know, which is permitting, etc. So we'll get into that a little bit. But again, these are options that you have available, and we've done them all. Here's dockage options, right? You can have a fixed float, you can have a floating system. Floating system goes up and down with tides, that's a good thing. Fixed systems, you can use your initial dockage for that, but you can have your fingers with gangways, but it's a little more costly. I always recommend floating systems because it's more adaptable to ADA compliance, okay? That's the key. This is the one in Daytona in front of the News Journal Center. If you Google it, you'll see it. There's a $33 million park that's being renovated, and it has lights in the night. Boaters can still come in, use it, go to the restaurants, and then go back to the ICW if they choose to. Other amenities you could consider in this place, right? You could use the marina to actually rent the slips if you want to. You can put lifts, people can park their boats here, and you can have an annual rental system if you want to. You could possibly, again, I'm throwing things, a dry stack, right? A dry stack is simply, they get the boats out of the water, you stack them up, and you can make money off of that. You've got parcel of land that's available right between the wastewater treatment facility, the tennis courts, and the waterway. Maybe that's a potential use. Jet ski rentals, you could possibly do that. Modify the pavilion, like I said, to create a bigger space, harbor master type home, security purposes, etc. So again, I know we're throwing a lot of stuff, but here's an example of a dry stack. If you haven't seen one, they literally pick up boats. You can see on the left-hand top side that they're actually picking up, like with a lift, a boat, and then they just park it there, and then it sits there. You could do jet skis if you want to. That's another option as part of a rental or a concession that you want to bring in. Again, these are the same products as so. A holding tank for sewage pump out. On the Halifax River, they have a boat. The boat goes to all the vessels. If they want to pump out, they pump it into this vessel. This vessel comes onto their main marina and then pumps it into a sewage tank. That's an option that's available if you don't want to build a big facility or a location on the marina where boats come in and you do the sewage pump out. So I know I've thrown a lot of stuff. I think we're doing good with time. The main components of a marina is your dockage, right? So I thought I'd share some numbers with you because we do, and these are the latest ones because we're working on a couple of projects with docks and marinas. We're looking at, on a timber dock today, the cost is $85, and it can go higher if we go with concrete pilings, which is what I would recommend because we have marine bores. We can wrap piles, we've done that, that's another option. The question is longevity on a marina. How long do you want your structures? The more you want them to last, the more cost up front, okay? Aluminum gangways used to go for 10 to 12,000. Now they're going from anywhere between 15 and 20,000. That's the aluminum gangway that goes up and down and gives you access. Floating docks, we do a lot of work with Bellingham Marine, Gator Dock. These are manufacturers of floating dock systems. Currently, it's $120 per square foot. Okay, that's the cost. So it'll give you an idea based on the size that you want, how much is it going to cost. So I'll throw this number at you so that you have something to gauge at. If we do about a 20 slip marina, it's going to cost you around between $800,000 to $900,000 without any other amenities except pedestals, lights, and water, right? And power. Those are the three things that most boaters are probably going to use. You can get into other things, sewage connections, etc., but not advisable because the more piping you have, more destruction you might get on your structure, the bigger the problems, right? If you're going to have fuel or sewage pump out, put it on one dock. Let the boaters come in, get their fuel, get their bills cleaned up, and go back to where they need to. But don't try to create everything for everyone, okay? Because you don't technically, I'll say this, you don't have a market for a luxury type marina. And I understand vision, maybe that's where you want to go, and that's okay. But remember, all those things cost money. So I'd like to open up the floor because I want to talk about a few things. So questions that were brought up were, hey, we have to look at, can we do the things we want to legally, physically, right, in space? I also add in financially. So as Wayne and I were chatting, he's been going to FIND for years. I've been doing FIND, Florida Inland Navigation District funding for 23 years continuously. I represent our clients, our municipalities. We present for them. We prepare the application for them. We go get funding for them. But the thing we do different is we look at every project holistically. So what's the differentiator? I realize when you looked at the proposals, Edgewater was probably your #1 ranked team. Yeah, they're out of Michigan, they're national, they can bring a lot of people. Question I ask is, who does the work here locally that's gonna service you? We're less than an hour away. We have an office in St. Lucie. I'm in Port Orange. We drive this corridor pretty much every week. We will always be here. We've always been here for our clients. We have almost 12 continuous contracts. Yesterday, we got good news for the third time. Our ports engineering contract with St. Lucie got approved again. So third time now for 15 years, we're doing that. Volusia County, all the municipalities there on the water, St. Johns County. We are their consultants, not only for the marine structures, but also coastal issues, right? Because we deal with hurricanes. So I want you to understand that. There's a big difference because we are a resource that is local and we have the knowledge of what's here in Florida. And we've been doing this for 30 years, so I understand hurricanes, heat, salt, right? Products, do you want to use flow-through type decking, other products that are available that can give you wider. This allows water to go through the decking so you don't have the uplift on your docks and so forth, because that's what mostly damages fixed docks, because water comes from underneath, pushes it up as the storms keep hitting, and next thing you know, everything falls out. This will allow things to go through. We also think about high tides, low tides, high tides, and we design based on them. We design based on how much deck do I need above the water based on sizes of boats. It all matters. This is all that goes into the engineering design of a marina and a floating system. Is it 17 inches? Is it 19 inches? All those makes a difference, right? What kind of top decking do you want? Trex, right? Artificial decking. Do you want to use that for beautification? You might have a vision. You want to look at like cool looking deck product. You can have those things, right? You can do concrete floats. Bellingham does concrete floats. We work with them all the time. And so you have a lot of options. So when you do feasibility, what is it that you all want, right? And that gets into the phasing aspect, because I said, if you want to build a nice marina, you can take segments. Let's build 20. Let's build it the way we envision this thing to look 20 years from now by adding other batches of floats if we need them, right? Why build a 150 slip marina when you're not even sure if financially you can keep up with a $3 to $5 million marina? That's just building it, okay? We're not even talking about annual maintenance, water issues, electrical issues, all those kinds of things. So one of the things besides looking at it holistically, the second feature is we help you phase projects. Then we can go to FI&D. Then we can go to Fish and Wildlife, right, for their boating improvement fund. We just recently redid an entire park for St. Lucie County. We got them the largest in state history, 1.2 million state funding. We took every penny of the state funding. Everybody else got the federal side of the funding. But $1.2 million to build a $2.5 million park, right? We're revamping the boat ramps, their accessory docks, their parking. We're going from like 30 to around 70, improving their lighting, all those things. So again, we understand grants, we understand funding, we understand phasing, okay? So I want you to understand that although we might be not in your top 3 or top 2, some of you top 3, I appreciate that. Just know that we are capable of building you the marina you want, but we're going to give you the advice. We are your consultants. I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you and say, yeah, you can build 150. Yeah, if you have surplus money, absolutely. I'll build you a 200 slip marina. Question is that what you really need today? And fiscally, financially, does that make sense for a municipality of your size to build a marina? And you did a study in 2016 and it says a marina wasn't feasible. But that was 2016. A lot of things have changed since then, right? So what is it that you want? And that's the conversation, the last one. I'd like to now have you tell me what you think your vision is for this marina. What are you expecting? And I'd like to address those questions if I can. All right? So I'll open it up now to you all, and you tell me what questions you have for me.
I guess I'll start, since I was the one that proposed the marina idea. The study that you did refer to in, was it 2016 or 2014, that was a totally different concept, and I understand why that one, honestly, it was definitely not the right marina concept for, I think, what our city needs. That was a free 6-slip marina or something like that. It was very minimal, and that would cost us money. What I'm proposing is something that I would like to see in the grand scheme of things. I mean, if I were gonna, let me give you what I would love to see, but not maybe necessarily what we can do right away, like you said, phasing. What I envision is something more like almost a public-private partnership if possible. I've talked with the city manager, and that's something that I would like to try to work in if we can legally do it. Almost like a city walk type deal along the water's edge. But starting off, I like the idea of where you modified your concept a little bit, putting the marina in the main basin.
Right.
Because my original idea or concept was about 100 slips, about four T-docks basically that go out with 25 per slip.
Okay.
The ends would be a longer T for longer boats. I personally have about a 58-foot yacht myself, so I'm here in Cocoa Beach. I'd like to see something, knowing what I know because I go to a lot of marinas. I travel a lot in the boat. I like your idea with the floating docks for the FDA compliance, just because I have friends also that I travel with, and they will only go to docks that are floating because of maybe their wife was not able to get off on regular docks as easily. I think that we could accommodate up to about a 50 to 60 foot max. I think our typical size vessels that we will see here will be somewhere between 20 to 35 feet.
Agreed.
Considering the, all the new center console type yacht boats as well, that with the triple 300s and all that stuff. I like the idea of the dry dock storage in the location east of the tennis courts. I believe that is a great moneymaker and something that, because Blue Points is shutting down in Port Canaveral, a lot of their business is dry dock storage like that. That's something that is going to be a vacuum that we could fill. I think that's just money sitting on the table.
If I may just comment on that, and you're absolutely right. Bigger boats are moving from south to north because south is saturated. There's no more.
Yeah.
Can't do the depths. So those mid-range, right up to 50, are starting to move. That's one of the aspects at St. Lucie County, and I'll let you finish, but I'll talk about that.
I like your phasing idea. I agree. We could probably start off with like 50 and then possibly move to 100 in the future. I think that's a great idea. Pump out for sure. The pump out is something that I want to offer for free. We can get grants for the clean stuff, especially if we offer. I know if you get the grant, you're not supposed to charge more than like $5 per pump out, but I would prefer to offer for free to encourage people not to dump in our river. Just an amenity. I think that should be a free thing. Fuel for sure. There's only one other fueling area in Banana River, and that's Marker 24, but they also charge $1 more a gallon than everywhere else. We could charge 50 cents more a gallon and still do very well. The other phasing of the smaller area, I like that. If in the future we needed more, I don't want to get ahead of myself on that, but the existing use of the pavilion definitely was also in my thoughts as well. I don't want to take away from the pavilion, but at the same time, marinas are going to need laundry, and they're going to need showers and bathrooms, like you said. So I think you hit on a lot of really good features. I think you're going in the right direction with it. Obviously, my main concern is trying to get the funding for it, which is why I'd be open to public-private partnership on some of the amenities side of it. My vision is more of a world-class type marina. I think if we're going to draw the people, if we're going to make the money towards the city for the amenities, we need to push that we have a yacht club incorporated with a country club, tennis, Olympic-sized swimming pool, and it all needs to be drawn together, along with golf cart rentals to be able to go into town and visit the other restaurants. So the way my vision is something that we can advertise from here to Georgia on our billboards, something that we can advertise on our different magazines like Towboat US or other magazines to say, hey, Cocoa Beach now offers a water presence that we didn't offer before.
Right.
Okay.
So let me address a few things. Public-private partnership is a good thing. At Taylor Creek in Fort Pierce, we're working with Safe Harbor Marina. Mm-hmm. Safe Harbor Marina is the largest national, I think global marina facility. They're acquiring marinas all over. They've acquired the one that's north of Taylor Creek, and they're completely changing it from a fixed dock to a floating dock system. We're also engaging with St. Lucie County on the riverside, like you were mentioning, with them to say, hey, would you be interested in working with us if we find a way to build this, you find a way to operate it, and then we can work out a deal. Again, it's in the process. If you all know Mr. Ken Pruitt, who used to be chairman of the Appropriations Committee for the state of Florida, he was brought in, and I've worked with him very closely, and I've really enjoyed working with Ken and drawing on his knowledge of how funding can be provided for certain aspects. Actually, he was instrumental in getting funding for the dredging project for muck removal for St. Lucie County. But having a public-private partnership is a good thing. This is where I might even engage your lobby group, if you have one, to say, hey, what can we do? Because there's all kinds of funding out there, and it's who you know and how you write your plan that attracts people, right? It could be economic development, right? Department of Economic Opportunity. You go to them and say, look, we don't have fueling system. We've got so many boaters. We need this, right? They'll find a way to get you funding and resources. And one of the things, like I said, we do is find funds for you. And the strength we have, I believe, is that we leverage those dollars. I'll get money from your general funds, match it with FI&D, take that pool of money and say, I've got so much, and I'll go to Fish and Wildlife and say, hey, we're going to put in 80% of the cost. Will you give us another 20 or 30%? They'll come back. St. Lucie County, I'll give you an example. We went from 1.2 to 1.7 million, because what they saw was like, okay, we have some additional funding. If you can do this, and we said, yeah, we can. We'll give you additional money. So we restructured it where they're now paying about 53 or 54%, and the county is paying 46%, as opposed to initially we went almost on a 50-50. That 4% makes a big difference when you're at $2.5 million, right? So that's one aspect we can do. Again, public-private partnership. Yep, there's a lot of marina folks that are interested in having marinas, because it's real estate also. You have, like you said, a vision is you've got a chunk of land in the ICW that has golf, tennis, all the amenities, maybe get a restaurant. I mean, you've got such a big facility. I look at this and say, you could do a lot of things, even at the golf club. I was there Sunday, just kind of different hours, looking at how full is it, how empty is it. Could you bring a high-end steakhouse, you know, Four Rivers from Central Florida, somebody that says, hey, the boaters are going to come park, including people from the city will come here, will use this amenity. And so as more and more people use it, the greater your chance to justify what you need to do, and the more support you'll get from the community. Like, this is a cool thing. So make this a destination, right? That's one of the things we can look at in the feasibility. What can we do to bring more boaters, but also provide amenities for our community that would come to this park more often, right? So I've been in Volusia County for 20 years. There are some places I've never been to until the hurricane, and I'm like, oh, geez, I didn't realize there was such a cool place here, right? So sometimes it takes that for you to advertise and tell people, like, hey, we have something here that you need to come and check out. There's a lot of money. You know, boaters bring a lot of dollars. Fish and Wildlife has done studies, and people, when they come from Central Florida here, you got the Beeline Expressway, the 520, they're going to come here. They want to go to the waterfront, right? That's what we take advantage of in Volusia County. We tell them we're here. It's yes, our famous beaches, but we can also get you to the Intracoastal Waterway, right, and to the ocean. So that's, I mean, I agree. I think, again, I know you said 50 boats, but you know, maybe start off small and get to 50 in 3 to 5 years, so that you have that, and then see how those things operate.
Just knowing I mean, I'm from the area, and like I said, I'm on the boat 5 times a week. I've been to all the marinas. I know what's going on here.
Yeah.
With that marina shutting down, I personally, I feel pretty confident that if we did, while we're building, I believe that if we did a waiting list,
sure.
I honestly think that it would be full before we even finished construction.
Yeah, it's like the housing market, absolutely.
Right.
The boat rental is exactly like that. You'll get people lining up to get your boats, right? Because I called a couple of places in our place, like Dry Stack, sorry, like we don't have any Dry Stack.
Exactly.
We're full, right? Because that's what people are doing. And people are getting bigger boats.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so there's money, and so I understand, and again,
the reason why I don't want to start off too small is because I really do want to create a buzz and get people talking about it, and actually start off start off on the right foot where it excites people rather than say, oh, they just started a little thing here.
Right.
So for me, I feel like we at least need to start off semi, not fully engaged, but really, I think, get a better jump on it than 20.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, we can certainly
Plus the
expand.
revenue side of it as well. I think we need to bring in more revenue quicker in order to go
Yeah.
with that.
Just to get a picture on the right-hand side at the bottom, this is Taylor Creek, goes right into the St. Lucie Inlet, but the marina to the north. Look at it right here. Look at it from 6 months from now, and it'll be a completely different reef configuration. And that's Safe Harbor Marina, right? They bought that facility. So public-private partnership, again, I agree with you, Keith, that if you want to have that vision, and again, we can help you. Okay, you want to start off with 50. This is how much it's going to take, and we can phase it in such a manner that you get the funding. FIND gives you 3 years to build. You go back next year, you say, hey, we want more money. You get to the second year and you say, okay, we're going to start construction. You start construction of your first few slips. You get into the third year, you get more money from them from the third year, so that the contractor just continues then building to your 50-boat slip marina, and you can get it done that way. So there's, again, funding strategies that we have used with other municipalities that allows them to build the vision and the size that they want.
Are your builders, are they your personal company, or are you subcontracting?
No,
your
we
builders?
subcontract for all our clients. We provide the bid specifications. We do the bidding process and construction management. But we have, right here, for example, if you might have heard of Rush Marine, they do all the work for the port, right? They've started moving into Volusia
right.
County. So they've done a couple of projects for us on the waterfront, and they're going to do more. But there's lots of contractors that can do, and we'll give you a list of marine contractors that actually do this kind of, not just by fly-by-night. We're seeing that in Volusia County. Every contractor wants to build a seawall. And when you look at their equipment, they look at the manpower and how they're doing it, it's not the right way of doing it. So for all our clients, we tell them, like, hey, this is the group. You pick anyone from here, you're going to be good. Anybody else? Yes, there might be some good ones from the west coast of Florida, but we don't know them, and we'd ask questions, right, about, have you done projects like this? Tell us the marina you've built. What has been some of your challenges? And we'll know very quickly. When we do geotechnical investigations, I'll know if a contractor doesn't have the right size of hammer, that he's not going to be able to do this work for you. And I'm going to ask him, tell me what you're going to bring in, so I can tell you if you can actually do the project or not. Right? That's all part of the selection process. So, have I addressed everything?
Yeah, I think you did.
Thank you. Anyone else? Because, go ahead.
Yes, not really on my vision per se. I think it is Commissioner Capizzi's brainchild here, but just a question I had after the presentation, will you speak some to how you'll evaluate the environmental impact, what kind of the feasibility of the
Great question.
environmental to it, especially as it relates to the capping project?
Yeah, so when it comes to environmental, let me just state this, and I'm not bragging about it, right? Every project we do has to go through the permitting process. State Florida Department of Environmental Protection or the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. And I've been doing this for so long, and you've been doing this for so long when you realize, for example, Aaron Watkins, who's the administrator for the central office, started off as an intern there when I was doing engineering work, and now he's the chief, so to speak, at the central office. John Palmer, who is the Army Corps chief, right? He used to be a consultant in Volusia County. So I've known these two gentlemen that are top dogs at DEP, and sometimes when I get in a bind, I'll pick up the phone and call them and say, look, I really need your help to get XYZ done because it's going too slow. And it'll happen because we've got a good relationship. We're not going to pressure anybody. I've had conversation with Secretary Hamilton during the hurricanes, right? State Department of Environmental Protection, top dog. And I've had the conversation, Lieutenant Governor, what do we need to do so that they understand not from just a sort of municipal side of things, but what are people feeling that they need to understand? Because again, at the end of the day, it makes them look good and they want to do the right thing. So resources, so let me talk a little bit about permitting. The things you need to worry about are, what are the impacts to subsurface material? Are there seagrasses? Are there resources, right? You might think you've got a lot of muck here, but you never know what's growing on the shorelines. Oysters, mangroves, you have all those kinds of things. So how is boating going to impact that? When you bring fuel, what kind of secondary, tertiary safeguards do you have, right? Should there be a leak? Should the hurricane have some impacts? What are you going to do to contain spills, right? That's important. We'll look at sediment quality in case we have to dredge out, right? Arsenic's a very common thing, but where can you put the material? We've been doing this for, like I said, 30 years. Mr. Walker knows we do a lot of muck dredging. We've done it in the Indian River Lagoon since the 1990s. I gave a workshop to municipalities like Bombay and Melbourne. So you have to look at resources. You have to look at impacts. If you bring a marina, you have to look at a flushing study. When you start taking away flow of water, what does it do to sediment buildup? And how does it impact, right? And there's a cost to that. So there's another thing you need to do. What kind of navigation safeguards do you have? If there's a channel, for example, on one side you've got a channel running, how far do you have to stay away from that, right? So those are the kinds of things that you'll get with the Army Corps on navigability and so forth. But when it comes to the environmental side, it's again, how deep is the water? Are you going to dredge material? What are the resources there, and how are you going to impact? If boaters start coming this route, and if there's seagrasses, are you going to provide a navigation channel so people don't go everywhere, right? All those things, you might have to go get with the U.S. Coast Guard, get their approval to say, hey, you have a navigation channel, we're going to allow you to put another navigation channel. Do you want a slow speed zone, right, to protect from wave action on the shoreline? Because when you start getting these boats and they've got 1-2 foot chops, your shoreline is going to be impacted. A secondary impact that you don't think about, but then you have to stabilize your shoreline, right? You've got a lot of good mangroves, but you also have Brazilian peppers, right? So sometimes we work mitigation, meaning, hey, we'll take out all the Brazilian peppers and invasive plants. In return, we'll plant some things. We might do a shoreline of oyster bags, right? You can get volunteers. Again, that's another great feature you can add on with volunteers and so forth. So,
real quick,
yes.
One last question before we're almost out of time. First and foremost, thank you. Great presentation. I know you have a lot of local knowledge, especially in East Central Florida with these types of projects. But the one key component that really sparked my interest is a cost-benefit analysis, long-term. Like if we're going to build a $10, $20 million marina, or even start with the phasing, what kind of obviously initial investment, operational costs, and then return on investment is the city going to see? I mean, I know building it is a key component of that, but I kind of missed that part in your RFQ. So could you address that? Because I think that's a really, really important part.
Absolutely. And again, when it comes to cost-benefit analysis, there are companies that literally do that, like for St. Lucie County when they went through their master plan, right, to bring in port facilities and containers and marinas, etc. There are companies that literally just do cost feasibility analysis. And that's going to be important for you, right? It's like a golf course, to put it that way. A golf course is an amenity that is provided by municipalities. Does it make money for you? Doesn't, right? But it's there. People like it. You take that golf course away, I bet it's going to get 100 calls, 1,000 calls, right? So sometimes with the marina, it is an amenity that you're providing, to address your question, but you also want to try and get, as I said, what are the other options you want to see as part of the vision that Walker will allow us to then do a cost-benefit analysis to say, if you do a dry stack, this is what you can make out of it. This is the maintenance cost, this is the operation, this is the personnel cost, right? So you have to look at those things, and that's a great question, but again, that's part of why I say when you phase a project, it allows you to gradually get into what you want, or you say, we got to rethink this. Costs are good. Right now, marina costs, design costs, stainless steel costs, wood costs have increased by 20% on products, right? And availability is becoming difficult, but eventually the supply chain will get there. So that's a great question, but that's something we can definitely provide when we get to the feasibility side of it and say, what is it that you want?
I got one real quick question about the capping. Do you see an issue with putting pilings through capping or anything like that? Have you experienced anything about that?
So I will say this, you can drive piles through pretty much anything, but if you cap the material, that'll be another aspect you'll have to look at, because there's going to be spaces where sediment or nutrients or chemicals will ooze through that system. You're creating conduits around everywhere. And then when you have motors, that's the other thing, because you were talking about putting a layer. That's where the size of vessel makes a big difference, because when tides go low, you're going to start exposing some of that layering, right, and capping. So.
Yeah, we got to wrap it up. This is the next groups in here. I have respect for that. But,
Okay.
you guys got a couple, minute or two to wrap it up.
Sure. To wrap it up, I will say this, that I know we are kind of looked at, when I look at the ranking or the thoughts of this team, and I respect it. We always go through this, that, larger companies can show the glamour, is how I say it. The question for you is, who are the people and which company is going to be here through the process to get your project done? Are you going to see multiple faces and people through your project? Not at DMC. We're going to be the one constant. Walker knows that. Any other municipalities, we've had clients over the last 15 to 20 years. We're always there. The same personnel goes there. And I, as the principal, we're a small company. I'm always involved in every project because it's important to me. Because the moment I sense something, my staff doesn't always, but if Wayne or somebody calls me and Shailesh, that report, it was supposed to come here last week. For my client, it's like, for my staff, they might think like, oh yeah, we got to get it done, but it's 1 week old. For me, when he calls me, I know there's trouble brewing, and I've got to resolve this quickly. So the point being is, you're going to have same consistent people. We have the local knowledge, like I said. We can help you with funding, and that's going to be important, I think, for the city to build the vision that you want. And we can bring in other types of funding as well for other infrastructure. So I think overall, we're the company for this project. We can look at things holistically, and we can provide you the services that you need. And we'll guide you. We're your consultants. If something isn't right, I'm going to tell you, sorry, you're thinking the wrong way. You can still make your choice, but I'm going to tell you because that's my job. Sometimes I have to tell you the tough things, but I'm ready to do that. Okay, so with that, thank you very much. I appreciate
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
All right.
Can you guys get me a copy of your slide?
Sure. Is that?
Not now.
Okay. I can email it. Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
The other guys will start that. 11, so if anybody wants to.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Sorry, I didn't get your name.
Patricia Draycott.
CFO. Okay, so money matters. Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Pretty good presentation. Did you like it?
I like that he addressed and he watched, obviously.